It's another edition of Time About the Movies. Today we're taking a look at the films of September 13th, 2002. We've got three movies to look at today, so let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, Ice Cube leading an ensemble cast in Barbershop.
Barbershop. His thing gonna be real smooth like Gary Coleman. Do not get this fool started. Where it's not about what's coming up. Bless him. It's about what's going down. Hey. My finger. From the producers of Soul Food and Men of Honor. Hey, what kind of car is it, man? Camera. Well, that's a good car. I got one of them. Barbershop. Run. Rated to the Teen. Starts Friday, September 13th.
So this takes place in the day of the life of a barbershop on the south side of Chicago, where you have Calvin, played by Ice Cube, who inherited the struggling business from his deceased father, and he views the shop as nothing but a burden and a waste of his time. After selling the shop to a local loan shark, Calvin slowly begins to see his father's vision and legacy and struggles with the notion that he just sold it out. The barbershop is filled with characters that share their stories, jokes, trials, and tribulations. We have Eddie, an old barber with strong opinions and no customers, played by Cedric the Entertainer. Jimmy, who's a highly educated barber with a superiority complex who can't stand Isaac, the new white barber who just wants a shot at cutting some hair. Ricky is an ex-con with 2 strikes against him and is desperate to try to stay straight. Terry, played by Eve, is a hard-edged woman who can't seem to leave her two-timing boyfriend. And lastly, there's Dinka, a fellow barber who's madly in love with Terry, but doesn't get the time of day. And besides Friday, this is probably Ice Cube's biggest trilogy as a whole. Like, I know there was other attempts to make him have more franchises as a whole, but this and Friday really were the two big, not only money makers, but most memorable trilogies of his. Even though the Friday movies definitely have a lot more flaws to it than the Barbershop movies do, the Barbershop movies as a whole are very, very good. I mean, you do really get attached to these characters so much. They're played very well by these actors, even people that you don't think would be decent actors. I mean, you wouldn't think somebody like Eve would really carry as much as she does in these movies compared to everybody else, but she really gives it her all in these movies. Like, she really is, in this particular movie, she really does stick with people like Ice Cube and Anthony Anderson and Cedric the Entertainer and Michael Ealy and Keith David, and Sean Patrick Thomas, these really good actors as a whole. And for somebody who hadn't really done a whole lot of acting before this, as far as I remember, she does a pretty good job of handling the pressure here, and it works very well. Plus, proof that Tim Story can make some decent movies, even though a couple of his movies most recently have not been the best overall. But, you know, shows right here what this guy could do as a director, and it's mostly working because of what Ice Cube brings to the table. It's not like Friday. It's a very different style of movie compared to the Friday movies. Even though a lot of what makes the best Friday movies work are very much in here, and I think the comedy in here works very well. Like I said, the characters are very well done. It's a really good film. It's a film that's very much, I mean, I don't think it's really underrated as a whole. It was a big hit when it came out. It was actually a big surprise hit because nobody, I don't think, really expected this to do as well as it did, both critically and financially. But of course, it went on to make several sequels out of this. And while the other ones may not be as good as some of the other movies are, but this film definitely is the strongest of the 3 movies in the series. But like I said, most of the movies, all 4 of them, honestly, including the spinoffs, are good in their own way. Like Barbershop 2 and Barbershop and the Barbershop spin-off Beauty Shop with Queen Latifah, I thought were pretty good. And I thought the last one, Barbershop The Next Cut, was a surprisingly really good movie, considering it's one of those comedy sequels that I always talk about that comes way too past the point where you can make a pretty good movie out of it. But, you know, 12 years after Barbershop 2, they managed to find a way to make the last movie work very well. It's a really good movie. I really do recommend it. If you haven't seen it and you want to see what these actors can really do when they're given some good material to work with here and the way they work off each other, this movie definitely works on those levels a lot. I think these movies are very good. All of them, I think, are very good, but this one's easily the best of the movies, easily. Barbershop, I highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. So, with that said, let's move on to our next movie, and that is Stealing Harvard.
It's a place that some people
You're a monkey pruning!
could never hope to go. But to pay for it,
I know how you can get the money.
they'll have to give it their best shot.
Is this 100% cotton? We should make up some fake names. I want to be Kyle. Who are you going to be? Steve.
Steve.
Yeah. I want to be Steve. I'm Steve. You're Carl. Kyle! Give us the money! Drop it, sucker! Go! We are so dead!
Stealing Harvard.
See, this is why I need to do more research before I tell you who's in these movies, because I think last week I said Jason Schwartzman was in this movie. He is not. This is Jason Lee, not Jason Schwartzman, even though he was in a movie very similar to this, Slackers, earlier in the year. But this is not him in this movie. It's Jason Lee and Tom Green, and you have a man who turns to a life of crime to pay for his niece's tuition for her first year at a prestigious university. His girlfriend also wants him to pay $30,000 for the down payment of a house, and his buddy is a bad influence on him. So it's very similar to the movie Orange County, which came out earlier in the year. But Orange County was at least much funnier and much cleverer and had a better director behind it. This one, not so much. It's not a bad movie. It's just a movie that, it's very hit and miss. And it makes sense that this is directed by the same guy that did Superstar, which was a movie that was not bad, but not great either. There were a couple of moments here and there where there could be some funny moments, but most of the movie is just kind of bland and mediocre. That one's a much better movie compared to this film here, but like I said, it's not a bad movie. There is some decent writing to it. One of the co-writers is Peter Tolan, who went on to write for Rescue Me, the Dennis Leary show, after this movie came out. And so there is good writing here, but just, it doesn't really feel like they knew what they were doing here. I think this movie is kind of slapped together at the last minute because of how successful Orange County was, because Orange County was an unexpected hit when that came out early in the year. But that movie was a much better film in general. It had a better cast, it had a better story to tell, better jokes, better director. It was just a far superior film. This, good cast here. Leslie Mann, Dennis Farina, Richard Jenkins, John C. McGinley, Tammy Blanchard, Megan Mullally, Jason Lee, and Tom Green. But the jokes really are not there to really carry the load here. And it does run a little bit too long, even though the film feels like an eternity. It's only 90 minutes long, but it just feels like it's taking forever to get to the big part where it's supposed to really get invested in this, and it doesn't happen at all. It's a really bland film that just has nothing of value and merit to it whatsoever, and just really feels like a slap-together film at the last minute because of what happened earlier in the year with Orange County. So, yeah, not much more to say about this one. Definitely one I'm probably not going to watch again anytime soon, so that's Stealing Harvard. So let's go ahead and end this on a high note. Let's go ahead and take a look at our last film, Igby Goes Down.
You know, I'm very tense about all of Igby's trouble.
Mimi, get off the maid.
Igby Goes Down.
Well, you might as well just call this what this really is, the prequel to Succession, because, of course, this is Kieran Culkin, who was also in Succession, and his character in this show and in this movie are very, very similar to, if you really think about it. But he plays Iggy Slocum, a rebellious and sardonic teenager who attempts to break free of his familiar ties and wealthy, overbearing mother, played by Susan Sarandon. A cast that also includes Claire Danes, Jeff Goldblum, Amanda Peet, Ryan Felipe, Bill Pullman, and Jared Harris are also involved in here. And this is directed by Burr Steers, who directed 17 Again as his next movie, which was the film that made everybody realize, that kid from High School Musical actually could be a good actor someday. And sure enough, he followed that up with a couple of decent films, but we'll eventually get to that one later on. But this is a film that, in a way, is kind of similar to that movie in terms of showing what a kid can do, what a guy can do, that eventually will show what a great actor he really is, because, this is the film that showed that, hey, Macaulay Culkin's brother actually has some good acting chops on him, and he followed this up with a couple of other movies after this, and the film overall is very, very good, mostly because of the cast involved, a good director, an interesting story. It's a very good, dark, black comedy in a way, and it's a very well-done film. It's a film that has a lot of great elements to it, a lot of really, really insane, over-the-top, dark humor at times, and it's a well-acted film. Everybody in here plays their parts very well. The writing overall is top-notch. The visual aspects are very good. It's a very intriguing and very enjoyable film on a number of different levels. A very underrated little gem. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, because you're really missing out on something special with Igby Goes Down. So on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we'll have 6 more movies, including another movie with Susan Sarandon in it. We have The Banger Sisters, along with Goldie Hawn. The infamous Ballistics, X vs. Sever, starring Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu. The war drama, The Four Feathers. We also have Trapped, Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away, and last but not least, we have Secretary with James Spader and Maggie Gyllenhaal. So 6 films to look at next time around. We'll take a look at all those on the next episode, of course. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, Take care.